Hi there everybody, this is David, and I've just been a huge fan of the Mana series ever since I first played Final Fantasy Adventure back on the Game Boy. And back then, I still thought of that as like the Final Fantasy series. It was called Final Fantasy Adventure after all. It was just kind of like an action-based take on it. Add to the fact that it still had a whole lot of different like Final Fantasy elements in it, like chocobos and airships and moogles. Even whenever Secret of Mana was released on the SNES back in 1991, I still never really made that connection between Final Fantasy Adventure and Secret of Mana as like being in the same series. And it really probably wasn't until about some time that I got like the internet in like the late 90s that I finally had that epiphany that, oh, these games are actually connected, they're in the same series. And thus far, there's only been 4 mainline games in the Mana series, and Visions of Mana now is going to be the 5th. And I think that is something that you'll definitely want to subscribe to this channel for and like this video for, because today I'm going to be telling you all about Visions of Mana. And I do hope that you out there can help me reach my long shot goal of 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year. Thank you all so much for your assistance in that, and now let me deep dive into everything that we know about Visions of Mana. Earlier today, a launch trailer was released, which finally gave us a firm release date of August 29th worldwide on the PS5, the Xbox, and the PC, with a PS4 version of the game also being released, but that PS4 version only in Europe, Japan, and Asia. It's kind of unfortunate that those in America don't get the option of a PS4 version. I don't really know what that's all about, but hey, I don't make all the decisions, nobody asks me, I'm just here to talk about it, so whatever. Anyway, let's get on down deep into the story. It starts off in the fire village of Tiena, where everybody is preparing for the coming of the fairy and the naming of the Alm. But it seems that like every 4 years, alms from around the world are chosen to travel to the Tree of Mana in order to rejuvenate the flow of the mana power, and they do this by offering up their souls. And a soul guardian accompanies the chosen alm to ensure their safe pilgrimage. That in and of itself is totally giving me like some Final Fantasy X vibes, where, you know, Tidus journeyed with Yuna on her way to Zanarkand in order to offer up her life to stop sin. Seems kind of similar to me. Anyway, on the day of the fairy's arrival, Val, who is the village's soul guardian, brings along his childhood friend Hinna. And it's there that the fairy finally descends before Hinna and appoints her the great honor of being the Alm of Fire. So of course, away they go, embarking on their adventure of a lifetime. But they aren't alone. They're joined up by 4 other party members, and here you can swap out with any of them and fight with whoever you want to at any time. But Henna, though, she doesn't actually fight herself. She just has her little bitches do everything for her. So now let's go ahead and talk about all these different party members. First up, there's Palomina, and she's the young queen of Illistania, capital of the Deep. After the death of her father, she succeeded to the throne, and since then she's been navigating her way through Illistana's societal expectations as well as the turbulent politics, while also caring for Ian, her younger brother. She's essentially the black mage of the party, specializing in powerful, long-range, magical attacks. Then there's Julie, who's a sproutling from Virtus Burrow? I don't know. And he is its current custodian, in charge of watering his sleeping companions. And he's just been kind of like sitting there watering and all this kind of stuff until Val enters his life. And in battle, he's essentially like the healer. And it's so cool. He's like the dryad or like the little cactus type of creature. And I want to say that this is the first time that we've had one of those kind of like plant-like creatures join our party in the entire Mana series. So that is really freaking cool. Then there's Karina, who reminds me of the sprite. And she comes from the Veil of the Wind, whatever that is. Although an unfortunate accident did take one of her wings. So yeah, she's apparently, because of that, she can't see the world outside of her hometown, but she still goes on this journey with Val and Hinna, so yeah, who knows. She's a support type character who uses buffing and area of effect attacks. And she also brings along her best friend, best boy Ramco, a sacred beast cub, kind of like Flammy, but unable to fly, might participate in battle, so that's kind of cool. Finally, there's Morley, a little cat boy, who comes from the Moonlit Parish. And since his childhood, Morley has been carrying the weight of the terrible disaster in his hometown on his shoulders. But after meeting Val and the others, he finds himself able to face his painful past. And in combat, he's another melee fighter, striking in fast, close-range battle. So there's 5 characters. Val is your main character, your fighter, Morley's another fighter. Then you have 3 essentially backup support mage sort of characters. And during battle, you can switch between any of those characters that you want to. If you're controlling them, you can control them however it is that you want to, but if you're not, you can use AI to set them up to make them do whatever it is that you want them to. That's not all though, because just like any good mana game, you have the elementals. And just how you collected the elementals by sealing the seeds back in Secret of Mana, going to the little temples and raising up your mana sword and sealing those seeds, the same thing can be done here, except you collect their vessel. Then you use those elemental vessels at any sort of glowing trigger or crystal or whatever that you find, and if you use the correct vessel, you'll be able to solve the puzzle. You can generate gusts of wind, you can move rocks, you can slow down time, and you'll open up hidden pathways or find hidden items or get to new areas. So if you do get more vessels, you're going to want to go back to the previous areas to find every single last hidden treasure that you possibly could. For example, like Undyne, you know that she's the vessel of water. So you can use her to create bubbles and float around through the water and all that. You can also use her to cool down lava or magma if you're in a volcano or something. Then there's Dryad, the vessel of wood, and he can be used to grow a lot of large flowers to carry you across broken paths, even give yourself a boost to get to inaccessible areas. And then there's Salamando, my favorite, the vessel of fire, and you can use him to shoot off a rocket. You're soaring into the air. How cool is that? Not only do the vessels allow you to open up more exploration, but they also allow you to switch between all sorts of different job classes. And each job class will unlock different stats, weapon types, as well as unique moves and abilities. So be sure to change your class often to find out. Then there's a skill tree. It's called the Elemental Plot, and there's one for each character as well as each element. And as you gain more levels and more elemental plot points, you'll be able to advance further and further and further along the grid to acquire more powerful moves and abilities, and then more branches of the plots will be unlocked whenever you get new elementals or more vessels and things like that. Not only that though, all of the moves that you've learned from the elemental plots are still usable even if you change classes. However, all the class-specific abilities can only be used whenever you are in that class, so be sure that you mix and match between the two to find the best suit for each character. Then, again, just like every good mana game, we have a ring menu here, and MP is still a thing. I know a lot of RPGs are going away from MP. Instead, they want skill cooldown things and timers and all that. But not Mana. Mana is tried and true. It's using MP, and I love it. You're going to have to set up your spells as well as your items into the ring menu, because you can only use the spells and items that are in your ring menu in combat. So make sure that you set that up properly before you get into battle, because if you have a healing spell but it's not in your ring menu and you want to use it in battle, you can't because it's not in your ring menu. So you need to set it up beforehand. I will say this though, sometimes going to the ring menu can slow down combat, so they also introduced a shortcut system that you can use to make combat even more fast-paced. So you can set up your healing spell to something like R2, and then boom, it would just go right off. There's also some old friends returning. There's Vascav from Trials of Mana. He's that turtle guy, and he's back, and he's acting like your boat. Flammy is also back, our favorite white dragon, and he's acting as your airship. I absolutely adore the Mana series, and I'm not even exaggerating when I tell you that this is my game of the summer. This is the end-all, be-all game of Mana that I've been looking forward to for 20-something years. After the disappointment of Dawn of Mana, Visions of Mana is a return to form, and it is exactly what I wanted. But now, I want to know about y'all. How do you feel about Visions of Mana? Is this your game of the summer? Or is there another game that's going to be your game of the summer? Let me know in the comments, and let's all talk and chat about it. And if you do like this video, here's another one that I think that you're going to enjoy too. It's a top 10 of all my favorite RPGs of all time. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I do hope that all of y'all have a great day.